Welcome back to JMax Customs and Fabrication. I'm going to start off by pointing out that I haven't completely lost my mind. There's the air box, the intake for the off-road wrecker. I did bring it over here, and when I pulled the fenders off, I threw it underneath them. There it was. I guess I haven't completely lost my marbles. I did bring it over here. Afterward, unfortunately, we're back to I have the front end piece over here on the motorcycle hoist ready for final weld, and I will be completely honest with you. I got this measurement offline to cut the opening for the rope on the winch, and that is way too small. I mean, like, it's not good. It would be very detrimental to a synthetic rope. So my bolt holes are spot on, but you can see on the ends of it, it's not bad, top, bottom, but on the ends, I'm gonna have to cut some off. You can see that will eat a synthetic rope for lunch. The radiator mounts and everything are all welded into here for the little saddles for the radiator. You can get a better look at this radiator hose now. That's how I decided to do that, where I could really break it around at a 90 and get around everything. I'm gonna try and get that final welded and get this orbital valve for the steering mounted. That's what I'm up to, just a whole bunch of welding. And then that'll probably be too hot to touch for quite a while once I get that done. This right here, where there's this hump in the frame, that's where I was talking about just cutting, like, I'll cut this square out right here, and that'll make it to where that ear of the new frame rail will slide up on the inside of that, to where I've got it tight here and tight there. There's just that, imagine it was something to do with the steering box, or I don't know. This frame over here is all nice and square and perfect, and my plate runs right back up to this reinforcement for the suspension, and everything's just perfect. And then that driver's side's all botched to heck. We'll have this ready to go back up there, but I don't know if it'll be cool off enough tonight before I quit to start back together with that. Got to open up that fair lead before I weld the bumper on it. Got the plate for the winch, it's got to get fit up in there. The winch, this bolt right here, I'm going to raise the winch plate up. The back of my bumper runs about right in the middle of this, and I need it to where my bumper is down here where this doesn't protrude. So I'm going to have to move this plate up probably about 3/8 of an inch or so. That'll make it just to where, you know, got that little more of allowance before it's just all but touching right there. Right now, let's just focus on getting it to where it'll run and drive. Nothing else. No hydraulics, no bed, no boom, no nothing. Strictly get it to where we can drive. About time to go over to the other shop and get me some new lenses. I can't see what I'm doing. I don't know why my wire is popping like that. Not going to play the vertical up-down game. I'll get this to where I can just weld it straight on here. Too hot. I need to work on my pre-flow. I'm getting some bad spots in my weld when I first start. These new millers in there. All right, I turned on about a half a second pre-flow. That'll give it just a blast of gas before it starts welding, so I don't get that porosity. Get the bad stuff out of there before the weld starts. This down here where my wire was kind of hopping, wasn't getting the amount of wire feed I need, and that's ugly, but it's more than strong enough for what we're doing. It'll function just fine. Ew. That made a lot of difference, giving it that little pre-flow burst of gas there like that. I'm gonna pull my rubber saddles out so I don't melt them. Then I have to remember where I put them, just because. Kind of important later when I go to get them. Let's go ahead and lay this down here. I'm going to go ahead and weld inside of the 90, kind of out here towards the end, and just to really lock that in real quick. Not going to bring it all the way to the end so that I don't have to fight with it when I go to put it against the frame. And then my wire hangs on me. Go ahead and cover up that rope so it don't get burnt. If you get a hot ember, it'll just melt right down into those ropes on these winches. We don't want to buy a new rope. Just gonna spot this heavy. Then we'll take this winch off of here so that it's not present. This is the best way not to lose those nuts. If you move your winch around, flopping it from side to side, these bolts, the nuts will fall out. It's easier to either take them out or stick some nuts back on them. That's not how those were planned to go in there, but they'll work like that. So I'm just gonna Bob Ross the crap out of it. Just turn it into a happy little accident, yes. Hey look, another use for a ratchet strap. All right, we'll let that cool off for a minute. I still have to weld across the front there. Probably just do that. I got the opening for my winch all cut out. It's got a little burr here and there that'll need a little attention. I didn't fully weld this because the fair lead fits better if it's not welded there. And then I didn't weld that just because it seems like excessive overkill, and don't know that you'll see it that much. Whatever. And then I came over here and took a scientific haphazard chunk out of the frame right here. That should give us about 1/4 of an inch opening for that new frame to slide in there instead of doing one of these numbers. So it should fit in here where it belongs now. Knock that off of there. And then it'll just weld on along here. And then any of my plug welds that match up with the frame will hit them. I guess really the only thing left to do is to see if it works. I don't know if it's cooled off enough. Be nice to get that up there and get it welded on tonight so that the front of the frame was just buttoned up. Well, not buttoned up, but welded on here permanently and on its way to being permanently like buttoned up. I still have to put the hoops and stuff. It's getting cold enough in here you can start seeing my breath. Sorry about that. Propane should be here this week. That's what I keep getting told. And we'll get rid of that. But for now, we're just struggling through it. Not a big deal. Some things are more important than staying toasty warm, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm gonna try and get that frame set back up here, figure out where we want it. Hopefully that works, and then we can just weld her on there. So I'll put you back on the tripod over here. Sweet, got it. Just needed a little bit more trimming on it. It should rest, there's a little lip on this hole that's on both sides, and it should rest right up against the back side of that. And then it'll be imperative this time around that this is where we want it for the hood, because if it's up too high, then we hit our grill before our body lines are right. Not a big deal, but we don't want it to, you know, look wrong. That's how good of a fit I have. I had to give it just a little tap, tap, tap-a-roo so that it would go in there that little bit. Kind of think my frames are, where I cut them off, is a little bit off, because I do think this is in just a little bit too far. I'm kind of into that hole on that side. Should be more so out. Be about right. I think I want to try and get this up just a little bit on this side. So I don't know if you noticed that, but when I tried to lift up on this, started jacking up the frame of the pickup. So I think I want to take just a little notch off of there so that I can, don't really, it's right where it needs to be is the only thing. See how it is this. I'll let the front down just a little bit. As you can see, I got the hub set back up there. Now with this in there, that's up too high. That's gonna hit the hood big time. So this is gonna have to come forward and down over here like this. It's gonna have to sit kind of in front of the intercooler. I'm just hoping that I don't have to back out of that idea. That would not make my day. It's about 20 to 9. Tomorrow I gotta sort some calves, and tomorrow they ship. Have to sort them and pick out replacement heifers and then get everything shipped off to the sale. Not sure if I'll be able to get back to this tomorrow, but we made hella progress on it. This is like actually welded to the pickup. It's not coming back off. The radiator and intercooler are just mocked back in here. Bad radiator. That's gonna come back out, but I really don't even want this intercooler in here when I'm welding because I don't want to get ruined, but it should be okay. The axle and hub system is gonna have to sit up here in front and down lower than I was kind of expecting, but that's okay. We'll make it work. We'll try to make it work. It might not work at all. I will decide exactly what I want for up travel and down travel and try to get my ratio figured out so that we can get those arms built to put on the cantilever there. All right, I'm back on to trying to get the orbital mounted up and get rid of all of these brake lines and everything and get rid of the ABS module so that I can design some stuff as far as holding my electronics and everything. Let me get this ABS module out of the way so that we can get to that orbital and get all my measurements and everything so I can build those brackets, get that mounted, decide if I'm gonna shove my hydraulic lines towards the engine or down. I'm thinking probably towards the engine. The way that I'm gonna build it, we can rotate that orbital however we wanna do it, just turn it 90 degrees. Maybe we'll want them on the top. I don't know yet. So let me get some stuff taken apart here and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the ABS module all tore out here and disconnected. Now there's a lot more space in there. I'm gonna have to redo those brake lines as far as I think I need a T first of all so that I can tee off the front brake. Cut this L that goes on my bracket for my orbital. So we'll get that welded up real quick so that we can build the bracket for it. I'm just gonna spot this together really good until we have it all designed, and then I'll finish weld it. I made this increase the side off 2 inches on both sides because mainly it just gives me lots of room to get up here to get my bolts later. This one, it'll push over to where it is more on the flat on the firewall where this will dive into it, because there are the studs that go through for the steering column and the brakes there that I don't want to deal with. This one, the way that the angle that it sits, this comes over almost to the firewall, so it's just going to take a little tiny piece here to tie it into the firewall as far as holding this where we want it. So I think that had some benefits to it. So we'll put this back up there and throw out some measurements as to building our brackets from this to the firewall so that we can get this puppy all mounted up. The measurement for the bottom one that's just straight, it doesn't have an angle or anything to it. It's 1 inch on the bottom here that I need from this lip to there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that one, and then I'll weld it in, and then I'll build that other side. It has some play in it, and if I weld it solid and then take my measurement, then I don't have to hold it and it won't be moving on me. That's my plan. My voice is a little hoarse. We shipped our Kev and the corrals were really dusty, and I probably have a lung full of sand, which is awesome. Will extend my life expectancy by about -10 years. So I'll go cut that piece. Be back. The orbital valve is now welded up there. It's not fully welded, I just have it spot welded on here because I don't want to permanently put it there and then have it not work out and have to put a little bit of a steering shaft or something in here. It also, the way I did it, if I decide to use the column shifter, it would work. Like I could mount out here and it'd run the selector cable. You can see this is clears all of this, where if I decide that I want to use that column shifter, I can do that, and I don't want to, like right now. That could change. See, this is it in park, then it's straight like this, and then it goes up from there. The problem with it is that this is where the piece that comes out here and hooks to the top of the frame goes to there, and it used to be up there. And now it's clear back here. So it would take some modification, because you can't really have that shaft come out there where your foot goes with the throttle. Kind of, you know, complications to moving your engine back that far. Still well worth it. Still liking the idea. Okay, next on the list, I do have to get the hoses and stuff for that figured out, because the hose will have to go from the power steering pump up here to my brakes, out of the brake, the hydro boost, and then down to this. The hose that goes from the pump to the hydro boost will have to come out of the pump and then down over here by my hinge, and then back up to the hydro boost. So I will take whichever line is the pressure side, or sorry, yeah, the pressure side. When it comes up here, I'll just loosen whichever line it is like this. This line will move down along the firewall here, so that hose will go from the pump down here by the hinge back up into that hard line to the hydro boost. And then from the hydro boost, it'll come out and go to the orbital. From the orbital, it'll come out of the bottom of the orbital, go back down, up around, back to the reservoir on the pump. I have to do that because to and from the pump has to have that loop so that my cab can move. From the hydro boost to the orbital, doesn't have to, because they're going to move together. You want the pressure to go from the pump to the hydro boost because having brakes is more important than having steering. Does that make sense? Because, I don't know, do you want to be able to steer until you run into something, or do you want to be able to stop before you run in? That's kind of a question for the ages, I guess. But the pump before, I guess it does go to the steering first. I'll look into that. I'm going to edit that out because I can't. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on, I'm going to take the radiator and the intercooler back out, and we're going to pull this front axle out from under here and get it welded, get the truss and everything on it, because I want to drive it this weekend. I have to drive it this weekend to stay on schedule. And in order to do that, I have to be able to steer it and stop it. But even if I just have back brakes, that's fine, as long as I can stop. Even if I have to put a hand lever on the emergency brake and use the emergency brake and have no other brake, that's fine. But this front axle has to be done. Let's pull this out of the way. And this doesn't really have to come out of the way. It's just that there's that transmission cooler that's hanging down there that I can't really get out of the way without pulling the radiator back out. Let's get this front axle done and I have to get that hydraulic ram on it so that I can get all of those lines figured out to do my orbital. But I'm definitely gonna try and run the lines down due to the fact that half of them have to go down and around. Okay, onto this front axle. All right, it seems like we're going backwards. I've got it all stripped down. Front axle's over here now.